So Florence, you're the founder of Synlab. You're one of those 4,000 Ashoka Fellows across the globe. You are a meta actor somehow. You're not empowering directly young people. You're empowering educators and leaders from the education ecosystem that are in position to empower young people or to transform the system. So somehow we can say that you are empowering makers. In a few minutes, I'll ask you to tell us more about Synlab. In the meantime, can Lucian Cosinschi join us, please? Give him a warm welcome. Lucian, you're the director of Minerva School. You're based in Berlin.
That's right.
Minerva is an undergraduate program that prepares global leaders and innovators for the 21st century. It welcomes students from 33 nationalities that get to live in
60.
60. That's twice as much. That's good. In 7 cities? 7 different cities?
That's right, around the world.
Right. I heard it's harder to get into Minerva than to get into Harvard these days.
About 4 times.
Mm-hmm. And basically, you are translating academic curriculum into real-life learning situations. Same here. You will have a chance to tell us more about this in a few minutes. And our third speaker is Olivier Cotinat. Olivier, you're a serial entrepreneur, the founder of Flair and Tap By. You're a lecturer at ESSEC Business School and Central, and you're here today because you're the co-founder of MoHo. From what I understood, MoHo is a physical space, but not only. A physical space to build a nation of changemakers, no less than this. And you call that space a collider, which I have no idea what that means. So again, you will have a chance to tell us more about this in a few minutes. Florence, can you maybe tell us or answer the same question that those people answered earlier today? Why are you here today? Tell us more about Synlab and how do you think Synlab is contributing to create a world where educating changemakers is the new norm?
Thank you. Well, what we've seen in France is that we have like 12 million kids going to school, which is a great success if you are comparing that to other countries. So we've achieved somehow collectively to have all those kids going to school, and there is a bit like 1 million teachers helping them grow as much as they can. And what we wanted was first to help them, so help the teachers, be able to empower the kids to become change makers. So we started a program called Bâtisseurs de Possible in France, and it's connected to an international network called Design for Change. And the idea is to help kids question the world, ask whatever they want about what they see on their day-to-day lives, and have them think about what kind of solutions they would like to invent to actually tackle those issues. And the fundamental idea is that you're never too small to find ideas and solutions to contribute positively to the world. And what we wanted was this program to be widely spread, and so we didn't want it to actually do it ourselves, but rather give the spirit and the tools to teachers to actually do that in mainstream schools. Just a few facts. I mean, in France, 80% of the schooling system is public, 19% is private under contract with state, and only 1% is our schools, like Jeff was mentioning. So, I mean, most of our kids, and especially the most the kids that are in difficulties with some social or cultural or physical difficulties. I mean, all of those kids are mainly in what we call our public education system. So what we want is to change our public system and to contribute to that through the empowerment of teachers as change makers. We've done a research study on self-efficacy, And we've proved that a program like Bâtir de Possible is growing the feeling of self-efficacy. It's Minerva that has done research 30 years ago about this, and so we are conveying this study now in France. And what is interesting is that, of course, if you're not thinking that you can transform things, that you can learn, you're not going to learn and to feel comfortable in learning and acting in the world. So agency is fundamental, grit, persistence is fundamental, and self-efficacy, the feeling of self-efficacy, is one of the basics that we should convey through our programs. And then we moved to create another platform that is called BeTeacher, êtreprof.fr, and now there are like 1,500 105
150,000.
150,000, sorry. This is the 10 a.m. Saturday morning, you know. On the platform, trying to think about how they can transform their pedagogy, their way of teaching, and like all of them are in those public schools, in the public education system. They are public officers for 40 years, and in France we need to really help them actually transform their practices and learn and to teach differently in the future. And all of them, the idea is not to judge them and say you're not innovative enough, but just to take them from where they are and try to inspire and create a sense of community belonging, so that they can share practices and feel comfortable to actually say that they're failing in some of their teaching, and be able to question that, to learn from the others, and then living that themselves. That they could then create this kind of positive learning environments for the kids they will be in charge of. Because one of the things that we truly believe is that it's really difficult to teach differently if you are not taught, if you are taught in the traditional way. So how can we create other like positive, innovative learning environments for teachers and even principals to become these agents of change and to become those people, adults, that will create like freedom and enable really kids to become what they want to become. When we are working with schools that are training schools of teachers, we're focusing on three things: metacognition, so the ability of that you will have to be aware of your learning processes, so learning to learn. Then cooperation, how you can settle protocols of learning that will rely on the community of learning that is in the school. And also creativity, meaning your ability to invent new solutions, new options to issues that you're confronted to. And what we want is this initial luggage to be in the hands of every teacher, starting in schools and especially in primary schools, so that we can think about future skills as cognitive skills and non-cognitive skills. It's not an or, because usually we are thinking it as opposite, but it's and. We need to learn math, and we need to cultivate empathy, cooperation, leadership, and all those non-cognitive skills. And I think the world we are entering now is a world where we need both, of course. And so how we can cultivate both of those skills through also cultivating meta competencies like metacognition and learning to learn, learning to unlearn also, because if you want to be creative at 50 years old, maybe you need to unlearn something that you thought was the truth. And And so what we truly believe is that giving that kind of skills to the teacher will help them, of course, cultivate that with our kids in France. When we and the last step of our project is also to think about directors and all those people that are in between somehow the public policy settled by the Ministry of Education and what the teachers are implementing in the classrooms. So the so-called inspectors and school directors and all of those people. I mean, the research have shown that they have an impact on the school success of the kids, and it's related to their leadership. Is it an inclusive leadership or not? Are they managing in a cooperative way? Are they creating the right conditions for the teachers to fulfill themselves and to learn and to continue to learn throughout their career? And all of those conditions are important to create a good school environment for the teachers to feel comfortable and to learn all throughout their lives, and also for the kids to be able to learn and feel comfortable in the schools. So the last part of what we are doing is really empowering also directors and school leaders to change the way they are perceiving their role and for their role to be like fostering the right conditions for the teachers.
Thank you very much. Turning to you now, Lucian, can you tell us why you're here today and tell us a bit more about Minerva?
Sure, thank you. I'd like also to say that I'm so happy to see so many people here this morning on a Saturday. I think that's very hopeful for education in general and for making a change. Maybe I should start by saying that Minerva is a university program, so it fits in that sort of spectrum of the education. It's a different developmental stage, and maybe I should also mention right away that there will be a lot more to find out about Minerva after I have the 5 minutes conversation right here, because Minerva started about 6 years ago from the premise of if we start right now, today, with what we know about the science of learning, about what we know about the world, if we start a new educational program, what would it look like? And we started from like really basic questions, like where should students study? If you have no baggage, no traditions that you need to observe, no campus, where should the students be? And this is why we decided it's probably a good idea to have students move around the world. It's not one place. They go, in fact, to all 7 cities. So they start in San Francisco, they spend 1 year there, and then they move every semester. South Korea and India in the 2nd year, Berlin, Buenos Aires, 3rd year, and last year London and Taipei. We like to take them around, and that's partly why we think they'll be better prepared to make a change. They also want to make a change. So there is a question about how you select these students, how do you find them? And we have people all over the world going and trying to find people who are passionate, have a passion, some sort of passion, some fire burning inside. They want to make something happen. And they've been proving themselves in school. They have good grades. But also, they have passions that they went out and tried to make happen. It's another way. And we don't have a limit. We don't have a limit of, how many students would you take from, France, Germany, Japan. We have a bar. If they make that bar, and the bar is, despite the very competitive program we run, we are not trying to make it competitive. We just want to make sure the students will be able to take advantage of what we offer and build on that. So Minerva is an unparalleled academic program for sure, but it's so much more than that. And in the context of change making, I think I'll focus on these couple of things. There's so much I'd like to tell you about the academics. There is, we found a way to incorporate the science of learning, the research that's been going around for the past 100 years in the way we teach. But for the purpose of change making, we have other things that we do. We broaden the scope of what a university should do. Is not just the academic program. It's experiential learning. Every week, on Friday, the weekends, students are open to projects in the cities where they are located, where they get to apply the things they've been studying in class. At Minerva, there won't be A students who are not ready for the world. They might be good students in class, and they should be good students outside. It's a very different thing to learn to memorize things, as you all know, and then to apply them in the real world. And we try to make this very consistently. And you know, you can memorize, you can apply certain concepts in certain conditions within class, but that couldn't be enough. So we have them go outside and do it. So that's every week. We have what we call a professional development agency. It takes them from the first year. This is not just about getting a job. It is about getting a job, but not just about that. You start in the first year, try to figure out what they want to do. Maybe they want to study biology. Maybe they want to study history. They want to try to figure out how can they apply these things in the real world. And they get a chance to get internships in the summer. We have 4 months summer holidays where students go and try out things. Things that feed back into the academic. They understand better. They understand the difference between the conceptual part, the theory, and how that gets applied. And they learn about politics at the office and all the stuff, the things that are needed to make this change. It's not the knowledge, the content knowledge. It's a minimum nowadays. This intercultural understanding that goes on both inside, right? We have students from 60 countries roughly these days. We have staff members organizing programs for them to get to know each other, or all the 4 years they travel as a cohort. These are the students that will become friends. They start in San Francisco and they go all around the world. The world would be their background. They'll be able to travel, they'll be able to talk and work in different cultures just by these 7 cities. But in the summers, when they go do internships, when they go try out various paths that they could be attending, they go all over the world.
Thank you, Lucian.
Thank you.
I'm conscious of time. We have a few minutes left. Olivier, this is a tough exercise. You have basically 3 minutes to pitch why you're here and what is MoHo and what is a collider.
So it's very, it's a good constraint. So yeah, like Thomas was saying, I'm like a serial entrepreneur and I've been teaching for more than 13 years in France and the US, innovation and entrepreneurship. So side of me is very optimistic when I see like so many people on the Saturday morning and all the student. When I start teaching, everybody wanted to do a financial market and L'Oreal and this, and now they all want to be entrepreneur and change makers, social entrepreneurship, etc. So it's great. But at the same time, I think it's one of the freakiest period of time, because if you add the political challenge, the climate, the rise of nationalism all over the world, in Europe, how we deal with migrants, I think we need a damn reboot of the whole thing if we don't want to repeat the mistakes of history. That led me to create MoHo, and we really reuse a parallel of history of the D-Day in Normandy, where it was 156,000 guys from 13 countries, all religion, they were all different state, and they were somewhere poor, somewhere wealthy, and they all got together and they all changed the world. Like for those of you, like if you're living in Europe, we're all kids of the D-Day, right? So they helped to rebuild Europe, it's the peace, etc., etc. And we said, okay, guys, we need to do a D-Day of positive impact, and instead of waiting for the big crap to happen, we need to make it before it actually happens. So so that's how we created MoHo. The idea is to create this nation of changemakers, a global one, living all over the world with the idea of initiating change, but also having an HQ. And obviously, because it's the D-Day, it's happening in Normandy, near the D-Day beaches. So we created this space, going to be open in a little bit more than 1 year and a half, 7,000 square meter, where we're going to welcome all year long program for various universities. So we're going to have programs from UC Berkeley, from the MIT, from many universities in UK, from Stanford, and all year long we are going to tackle many issues. So in this Collider, so Collider is a place where you actually mix together and for a long time different type of population. So we are going to have students, we are going to have researchers, we are going to have employees, we are going to have just citizen, kids, unemployed people, senior, and all together we believe that if we want to initiate change and educate change makers, you need to give them confidence. You cannot wait only to educate kids and hope that they're going to change things in 10 to 15 years. You all need to change also people that are like 30, 40, 50 years old today, and even within corporations. You need to create like alternative system, like Muse was saying, but you also need to try to change also what's existing if you want to have a systemic approach. And on top of that, we're going to do a big event every June 6th, obviously, because like all of you knows, it's where the D-Day happens. Going to start in London, June 4, and we're going to ship to Normandy in a huge boat all the participants of our event to make sure that they are going to work all together. And I hope I'm almost on time to say that you're going to be all welcome next year for we're going to do the first edition for the 25th anniversary of D-Day, and I hope you're going to be part of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Olivier.